Okay, hello everyone, this is Tim Sales, and what I'm going to do here is just explain to you a little bit about what you use Brilliant Compensation for, what the Wealthy Buy on Payday, and then how to actually get results with that. I'd like to first just give you just a quick overview of why you need the system itself. Is because we're all not web developers. We're all not copywriters, and copywriters is a term that's used inside the advertising industry, that when you write advertising copy, that copy or text is the stuff that causes responses. And since a lot of us come from different fields, we come into the industry of network marketing. We want to own our own business and the very first thing that you have to do in any business is to make it known. You need to tell people about it. You need to tell people about products. You need to tell people about your business. And a lot of times that's new. That's hard. And you're not quite sure, because what you might say to get somebody interested might not be what would cause another person to say, yeah, I'm interested in that. Let me take a look at that. And so that's why I am very excited to be working with Mr. Boyle. And what is the greatest thing about this is he's one of us. He is part of our team. He's a part of Ariix. He has an intention and purpose to make Ariix grow, and for himself and for others. And so I am really responsible for asking him, hey, we need something that doesn't require everybody that comes in to be a marketer. We need it to be where we're able to just say, hey, do this, and no one has to go out there and build a web page yourself. You might not know HTML. You might not know WordPress or any of the sites that so-called make it easy. That's not easy. And so that's the reason why we need a system like this. And once you look at systems, what you then look at is the content. And the content is, what does your user, what does your prospect see? What's going to cause that person to say, I'm interested? And right now, what we are kind of pulling together is the presentations that a person would use to cause someone to look at the business of Ariix. In a very short period of time, you're going to see campaigns in here that are product-based. And what's the product-based campaign look like? Well, let's say that we have a purity campaign or a SlenderX campaign or a skincare campaign. And let's just start with purity. Most of you know that that has to do with a water bottle, very unique water bottle. And so that campaign might start with, are you aware of what's going on with your water? All right, well, that is simply, that might be an email that you're going to send to your warm market. Or you might just bypass that email and post a link on Facebook or something like that. A person clicks on it, and then it explains to them what's in their water, and then says, hey, would you like to learn about possible solutions? And so then the person fills out their name and email address, and then you send them the next part of the campaign, which explains to them about what our water bottle does. So you could say that would be part 2. And then we go into part 3, and that would be where you pick up the phone and you call them and you close them into an order, or they might go straight to an order page. And then you can say, you know, if you would like to recommend this site to others, I'd greatly appreciate it. Or if you'd like to earn money doing this as well, then we can pay you a small commission for referring it. And so that would be a product base that ends up helping the person from a product consumer standpoint, but then also says, if you'd like to make money with this, then click this video and watch it. And then it would just be a purity money-making video that would explain that. And so that would be a product-based explanation. What I'm going to talk to you about tonight is really about how do you transition from somebody who has a job, or someone who already owns their own business, or someone who is in a network marketing business and isn't happy? How do you transition that person into being interested in Ariix and potentially joining? There are 3 videos that I've created. One video is called What the Wealthy Buy on Payday. The next video that I've created is called Brilliant Compensation. And the third video that I've created is Why Ariix. And if I were to tell a story to someone, and the story would basically start with a conversation, and I'm just going to assume on the least business aware person. That's where I'm going to start my story. And the least business aware person would probably be someone like myself in 1988, a year before I joined this industry. Okay, so I work in the bomb squad. I do diving. I jump out of airplanes. I shoot guns. I don't know anything about business. All right, the closest thing I ever got to business was that I used to mow yards as a kid, and they would pay me $5 or, something like that. And so that is the beginning of a story. And What the Wealthy Buy on Payday is a way to educate a person that what they buy with their money on payday is what determines someone's wealth or someone's debt. It's basically what it comes down to, whether they become poor, whether they become a middle-class person who are, often stressed out, or whether or not they become a wealthy person. And so that's the beginning of the story, is that I talk about that just a little bit. And if you're looking on your computer there, what you'll see is that the poor people. So if I were to start off, and I'm talking to someone who is a blue-collar worker, I'm talking to someone who is a stay-at-home mom who's never worked before, any kind of people who had no business experience, I'd be saying what poor people buy on payday is stuff. And what do we describe as stuff? Stuff are things that people buy that they don't need to survive. And very often the people will go to garage sales and flea markets and craft shows, things like that, and they will buy inexpensive things. But that inexpensive things accumulate. And when you look at their house over the 10 years, 20 years, 50 years of time frame, what you find is their house is just absolutely cluttered with stuff. You can't find any white space on the wall. You can't find anything on the countertop, any space on the countertop to sit down your glass of water, because there is so much stuff sitting around. And all this stuff is accumulated, and that is how people become poor, is they buy inexpensive things that they don't need to survive. That's it. And then the middle class, that's what society thinks is often rich, because they have to show everything that they do. And these people end up buying liabilities instead. And a liability is something that costs you. And it costs you every single month. And credit card debt, cars, boats, new Rolex watch, whatever it is, that's the things that people spend. And it keeps them trapped in the middle class. They never pay off their debts. They never pay off their homes. They never pay off anything. And it's because they're constantly buying more and more of these liabilities that cost them more money. And then the wealthy, what they do on payday is that they buy things that make them more money, things that generate more money. You can buy stocks, you can buy bonds, you can buy real estate, and you can buy businesses. And if you can buy education, and education is what buys you more knowledge that you can move forward and advance in life. And so what I'm trying to do with the beginning of this story is to take a person through to help them determine that their financial position or condition is not decided by that person's parents or their grandparents or the country that they live in, but it is determined by what they buy with their money on payday. Okay? That's the entire purpose of the video called What the Wealthy Buy on Payday. And so how you use that video in this example, number one is that you can just Facebook the video and say, I just watched the most incredible video and I realized why I don't have any money. This is insane. Watch this. All right? And so the person watches the video. And then they comment and things like that, and those people who pique their interest and have an interest, and you follow up with that person in private chat or however you want to do that. Another way is you can just send an email broadcast to all of your friends. It is not a strong solicitation. It is just merely, oh my gosh, watch this video. You see, so many people in today's society send out videos, and that video might be of cats, little baby cats jumping up and down on a piano and playing a tune or something, or it might be, you know, whatever. People are obsessed with YouTube videos and sending videos to one another. And so if you were to send this video out and just said, you know, in the subject line, aha moment, and then you just promoted inside of there to say something, and I'm just pulling this out of the sky, it would just be something like, okay, this video gave me the aha moment of the year, or something like that. And there's a link. Now that can be sent from system or however you want to do it, but what my purpose in this would be is to create intrigue, to create reach, to create response. I've been working with Jeff Boyle's assistant, Jennifer, today, and we're working on marketing messages, email messages that would go out, autoresponder type messages that you would send the first one out, and then it would follow up with another and another. And we'll be getting those to you shortly, but I don't want that to prevent you from being able to immediately get benefit from the system. And so if that video goes out to your friends, that's not a strong solicitation. It is really, it's a reach to see anybody who responds back. Sometimes that response might be, great video, good to hear from you, haven't talked to you in a while, you know, Steve, or something like that. You know, and you reply back, hey, what you been up to? You know, what'd you like about the video? What's your phone number, by the way? And then you get back in communication with the person. All right, so that will help you to understand that this creates the initial intrigue. It causes a person to raise their hand up a little bit and say, hey, I've got an interest in that. The second video that I've created is called Brilliant Compensation. And a lot of people know me for that video. It's helped the whole industry sponsor people. I personally sponsored a couple of hundred people with it before I would go out with it. And the truth be told, I've sponsored many people because all I did with Brilliant Compensation is that I had created that very video for my company. It just had company-specific stuff in there, and then I stripped out all the company-specific stuff and just made it available out there for everybody to use in the industry. And so it sponsored many people. And the way that video came about, you should be very intrigued with, because I probably did in the neighborhood of 6,000 or 7,000 presentations, starting out with one-on-ones, moving to one-on-twos, one-on-threes, you know, to small meetings, to me being in a luncheon, to it going on up into where I'm talking to several thousand people at a time. An event. It taught me how to public speak and everything else. Well, the reason that presentation is so effective out there is very simply because that presentation was developed over time. I started out trying to explain this industry like most people have, where, you know, you draw a circle and you draw 5 circles below that, and you say if you get 5 people and each of those get 5 people. And the problem is that any mathematician would look at that thing and they would say, if you just signed 3 more levels, you've signed up the whole planet. And so it seemed unreal. And so instead, I would try to describe something, or they would say it's a pyramid scheme. And so I would I would try to describe it in another way. And that evolved over into my explanation of the real estate broker and the real estate agent, because no one views them as a pyramid scheme. Whether it's an insurance agent and broker, or it's a real estate insurance or broker, or it's a stock broker, or a stock person who sells an agent that sells for a broker. In other words, all these industries exist, and they exist without people feeling as though that it's a scam or anything like that. And so I used the real estate broker, real estate agent conversation. And then people would ask me questions in the middle of my conversation. They would say something, well, who sells the product? And so I created that little conversation about the 3 gears. And, you know, so there's a person who retails, there's a person who consumes it themselves because they love the products, and then every time somebody's exploring the business, they're going to try products, and that is product movement in this kind of organization. And so what I'm trying to share with you is that every nuance about that video has accumulated until a point to where people would get it and they would say yes. And so that's the reason that it is so effective. Now, what is it effective at really doing? I never told anybody out in the real world out there why that video is so effective, but because I...
oh, no problem. I've got them emailing me, so I just wanted to confirm it.
You're confirmed now. So what I basically did with this is that I was able to explain to people how to evaluate a business. Now, I might have just jumped tracks. You might think I just jumped tracks and I started talking about something else. I'm not. What I'm trying to share with you is that what I've discovered, and it is quite a discovery in this industry, was that people that I was talking to were not business people. And when you start your presentation with Ariix, then you have jumped a great distance. You have, number one, assumed that that person knows business, and you are also assuming that that person knows how to evaluate one. And that's where most of the mistakes are made in this industry, is that they assume a certain amount of knowledge from their prospect, which that prospect does not have. And so what Brilliant Compensation does is that it educates a person on how to evaluate a business. And after you've taught them how to effectively evaluate a business, that person has more confidence. And then when you show why Ariix, they know what to look for. And that's why the two make sense. So looking at your computer screen, you can see that what I teach a person to do, there's 4 things that I teach a person to do. Is number one, when you're evaluating a business, whether it's a job or it's a business that you yourself want to own, or if it's a network marketing business, what you're looking for is a huge expanding market. That's number one. Number 2 is a unique and consumable product. Number 3 is you got to get that trends and timing right, because if we came out with vinyl records today, you know, they might sell a few, depending on the artist, but it's not going to go big, right? And then you also have to employ others so that you get more done, which we call leverage. And so those 4 criteria is how I teach a person how to evaluate any business that they're looking at. In there, I explain that the very best kind of business is network marketing, and I explain why. Which now is an absolute perfect transition point from Brilliant Compensation into Ariix. Because where I start in Ariix is that I start with, all right, there's a few different ways for you to make money. You know, everybody knows that you're not going to get to any kind of financial freedom working as a job. And so therefore, you're going to have to look at a business. And there are a number of different businesses. And most all of those businesses are really teaching you to build your resume and make everything about you. And if there is a single largest mistake I've ever seen in financial creation, it is making it all about me or you or your resume. And the ultimate in making it all about you is when you become an accountant, a doctor, an attorney. It's all about you. I got all this knowledge, and you need that, and so you're going to pay me for that knowledge. And so you've built it all about me. and that, therefore you can never step away from it. And so, what this particular part of why Ariix explains is that then it transitions into a small mom and pop type business, and then it goes from there into that you could also own a franchise, the pros and cons of a franchise, and then you could also own a network marketing business. And given the options of all of them, I choose network marketing, and here's why I choose that. And that's a perfect transition into, now that you know how to evaluate a business, now I'm going to show you the criteria that I use to evaluate a network marketing business and why I chose Ariix. And so that is the story. And if you missed that, what I just described to you is that if you start when a person has no knowledge, and you talk to them about the very basics of what they buy on payday, and then you come into how do you look at any business. Employment, business that you can own, it doesn't matter. It explains that part. And then it transitions into how do you evaluate a network marketing business. And so that's the story. Now, when you're trying to choose between what the wealthy buy and brilliant compensation, how do you know which one to send first? Here's the criteria that I would use if I were you. What I use is, if the person has no business experience, then I send them what the wealthy buy on payday. If I have an email list of my friends and family that I don't necessarily want to expose them to that I'm in Ariix, or if just because that it would be it would be too strong of an assertiveness at that point in time. And so then I would send them what the wealthy buy on payday with just a message that it's not hokey, it's not anything, just something that causes them to reach out for it. Now, if I have a person who owns a business, who is a doctor or a professional or anything like that, you could send them what the wealthy buy, but that group, it's okay to jump over the top of what the wealthy buy on payday and start with brilliant compensation. And so that's how I evaluate the system, or how I use the various different videos. And we're going to get into a little bit more in terms of generating leads. And then we have to really evaluate, how did we get that lead? Because that's going to tell us what our first email campaign states. If you've done advertising, let's just say that I advertise out there to give away a free washing machine. And so that's what the person opted in for. And I get a whole lot of opt-ins for that. What does my first email campaign have to do in order to send them what the wealthy buy on payday? Well, that email is going to have to do a lot. All right, it's got a huge bridge to overcome. But if I advertised out on the web somewhere and I said, learn what wealthy people buy on payday, or learn what poor people buy on payday that keeps them poor, then the first email that I'm going to send out doesn't need a very big bridge. It just needs to, you requested this information, let me send it to you, right? That's all you really have to say. And so when you think of telling the story, you have to start off with, what does the prospect know? And so when you're working the cold market, you very much have to know where that lead came from as an advertisement. And so those are the things that we're going to continue to work on in the system, but we wanted to give you something that you can use with your warm market. And so what I'd like to do now is to share with you, at what point do you call them? And when you call them, what do you say? And so now you guys will know me very well from being, for using the inviting formula. And what this has to do with is, at some point in time, when there is interest, when there is reach, when there is a prospect who's asking you questions, then you want to reach out and talk to that person and build a relationship. Now, my philosophy has always been you either do it right after what the wealthy buy, and you start building a relationship, or you do it right after brilliant compensation. But you definitely want to do it before Ariix. You want to start building that relationship. And so what kind of questions do you ask when you call? Stefan, if you've made any of those slides for the inviting formula, you can advance to those. What I'm trying to accomplish when I call my prospect is I'm trying to learn about that person. I want to know about where they're at. I might have known them for 20 years. That doesn't matter. What I want to know is, what's their condition now? What does it need solved now? When this phone call happens, I'm not trying to get them into Ariix at this point. I'm calling them as a friend. I'm calling them as a human being who wants to help another person. And so in order for me to help them, I need to know what they want. In order for me to get them to tell me what they want, because some people are very nervous about sharing their fears with you. And so in order for me to get that person to talk, I'm going to have to do a good greeting. And that's the very first step of the inviting formula, is to find out, or to get the person to talk to me, to open up, speak freely with me. And then after I get them to speak freely with me, then I can qualify them. And to qualify them means just very easily, I want to find out what they need, want, or don't want anymore. And it might be, in a lot of different directions. I don't want to be in traffic anymore. I don't want to live in this hot area anymore. I don't want to live in this cold area anymore. I don't want to live in this, suppressed area anymore. I don't want to work for an unethical boss anymore. And it could be anything, is what I'm trying to tell you. And for me, it has been everything that I've heard coming from people, if you just listen. Was speaking with someone over the last 10, 15 hours or so, and it took me a while to really figure out what this person was about. And what they wanted was, they want to be with a group who has a real purpose other than just money. That was very fascinating, and it took me a while before I finally understood it. But boy, once we both understood what we were about, then I could really talk to that gentleman about how passionate I am of the purpose that I have with Ariix. And so that's the thing that you need to do. When you pick up that phone and you call somebody, you need to greet them. You need to talk to them enough to find out what that person needs, wants, or doesn't want. And then after they do that, then you invite them to look at Ariix. And you don't do a whole lot of explanation. You just say, you've told me that you want to work with a group that's purpose-driven, or you've told me that you want to get out of your job, or you've told me that you really, really want to move to a new location. And the business that I'm working right now, it doesn't matter where you are. Once you find out what they want, then you're going to invite them to look at Ariix so that they get what they want, not so that you can sponsor them. You have to just absolutely drop your selfish intentions. And it's not selfish in a bad way. It's just that when you're on the phone with somebody, you have to drop how it benefits you, and just purely share it for that person's benefit. And then after you ask them to take a look at the video, and then you're going to close them into that action. And that action is for them to look at the video. And you say, okay, I'll call you back. And the video is going to take about 30 minutes. So let me call you back in 45 minutes. Or does that work for you? Or when do we get a chance to look at it? So you're going to close them into an action step. And then you're going to follow up with them like you said you would. You said you'd call them back in 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it is. Call them back. And then you're first going to talk to them and ask them, what they like about the video, what intrigued them. Do they now see why you had them look at it? And then the last step there is objections. And you don't know where that's going to come up. That could come up on the greeting. It could come up, if you call somebody and they say, I'm giving my baby a bath, then you say, okay, good. Let me call you in an hour. Is that okay? Good. All right, bye. So that would be an objection, and you handle that objection by calling them back. If in the qualify step an objection pops up, or in the invite or wherever, then you handle that objection, and then you move on. And so that is the inviting formula, and that is the way that you must talk to people. You do not view them as targets. These are human beings. They have dreams. They have goals. They have passions in life. And they want to own their own business, and that's where you're getting to. And any person who wants to own their own business, they need a partner. They need someone to coach them through that process. And sometimes the first coaching procedure is help the person get over the fear. And a lot of times that fear comes out as, I'm not interested. Sometimes that fear comes out with, you jerk, why are you calling me? You know, you never know what fear really looks like. My little 13-month-old is starting to walk, and it's very fun for me to watch him start to stand up, and he starts to shake, and then he cries, or he will do something that exhibits fear, and you don't realize it that a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old exhibits fear phenomenon. It just might not look like a 13-month-old. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it comes out in different ways. And so if you can just be that patient person, and you know, if that person's not interested, just move on. Call another. Call another. Call another. And so that is really in a nutshell what I about, why I support the system, why I wanted What the Wealthy Buy and Brilliant Compensation in here. There's been a gentleman, Stefan Page, that I have worked with for a great many years. He is probably one of 3 or 4 that know the inviting formula, know Brilliant Compensation, know What the Wealthy Buy as well as I know it. And Stefan is unique in that I don't know many people who market more than him. He's always advertising. He's always driving people into What the Wealthy Buy. He's driving people into looking at Brilliant Compensation. And so if there's anyone who knows it as well as I do, it would be him. And so I just wanted Stefan just to take a second or two, communicate what it is that, how he's used it in the past, what he sees the benefit to the prospect as, and things like that. And so, Stefan, if you would do me the honors as to share with these great folks what you see, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, Tim. Well, right now I have to say that after a year's, it's very, very rare that I'm going to sit down with a prospect that hasn't seen any one of those movies. It just makes my job so much easier, because at that point, I don't have to handle most of the common objections that typically people have in this business. And so I get to sit down now with prospects that are open-minded, that they want to hear about my specific company. The MLM objection is no longer on the scene here. All they want to hear is about my company and how we can work together and make this thing happen. So that's why I'm using these tools. They're extremely effective, and I don't know if probably most people on this call don't realize the potential of these. I've been out there building my organization in the past with other tools from other companies, trying to use their videos and stuff, and I couldn't get the result that these videos were getting me, and I kept coming back to using them. And so if you have not personally, and that's why I say you may not realize the power of this, is because you haven't used that to its full potential. You got to use it all the time with every prospect, and you're going to see the difference when you talk to those people. So that's been my experience, and so I've been tracking all of this. I know exactly how many people watch What the Wealthy Buy, how many people watch Brilliant Compensation, and how many go to the next step of reviewing the company information and signing up. And ratio has never been as high as with those tools. So we're quite fortunate because we actually have Tim as part of our company. We have these tools as part of our company. They're customized for us. I don't see this out there. And so having all of these tools plus the training, I mean, who can fail? The only people who can fail are the people who are just not taking any action. If you take action and you follow the steps, there's no way you can't succeed. You will succeed with the tools and the training. So I don't know if there's anything else you want me to add, Tim, but that's my experience.
I just want to let everybody know from my heart, I promise you, you can do this. I know everyone has fears, but you know, there's 7 billion people out there. How many of them have you shared the business with? And if it's less than a few thousand, then you can't even say you've tried yet, right? And so that's all that it comes down to. And so why would there be What the Wealthy Buy? Why would there be Brilliant Compensation? Is so that you can start communicating with these people without having to know all that's in Brilliant Compensation. You don't have to do that 5,000 to 7,000 presentations to nail it. I did that already. And so so that's the reason that it's there for you. And just keep on working on it. Keep on training yourself. Keep on learning more and more and more. You're on this call, and there's a reason for that. And for that, I commend you, and you're doing what you need to be doing. Next thing is make sure you get volumes of people in front of the presentation, because that's what does it.